Good morning. Welcome to episode 3 of Open Doors. Have you ever considered how different it feels in the audience when someone's actually having a conversation with you rather than directly presenting at you? And have you considered how different it would feel for you? Well, today's show is going to look at how it probably is the thing that made the biggest difference to me, is the time that I suddenly went, right, I'm no longer going to try to present. I am now going to have a conversation, and it applies across the board. My name is Chris Dawes. I'm the founder of Open Doors Training, and I have spent, what are we now, over 2 decades giving business presentations, over a decade of motorsports commentating, hosting awards, and yet this applies across the board. Genuinely, it has made the biggest difference to me, I would say. And I want to try and share that with you today so that you can feel a lot more comfortable. You can feel a lot more in control of your delivery. You can feel a lot more connection with your audience. And it therefore just has so many knock-on effects that it is a massively powerful difference for me. If you're watching either on YouTube or Facebook, please do drop comments, questions, anything at all. We can see them come up below here, and I can answer them. I can put them on screen if appropriate. Keep them clean, but we can do all of that. Listen, if you already do it, you feel that you have a conversation with your audience, you feel totally relaxed, you have a two-way interaction with them, this live might not be for you. Probably still worth watching just to see if there's any tidbits, but for the majority of us, I know that I spent many years doing the same thing at university and in business, where you just suddenly switch into, right, I've got to present and I've got to remember everything I'm saying and I'm going through it. If that is you potentially and you're not sure, then this video will hopefully do it. It is to open you up, relax you, and get even more out of it. And by the way, that applies whether it's giving a presentation, whether you speak up in a meeting, whether you're giving a training. And as I found, is that I still apply that same style when I'm commentating as well, whether that's to a few hundred or whether it's to absolutely tens of thousands of people. I still do it. I like to have a conversation. And I think one of the nicest compliments that I get with regards to my commentary, the biggest compliment I get is that the audience, the crowd say that they feel like I'm talking directly to them. And I love that. I really appreciate that feedback. And I try to understand, well, what does that mean? How am I doing that? Because I'll be brutally honest, it was a pure luck thing. I didn't go into that going, well, this is the way it should be done. I was just, frankly, a kid in a sweet shop, so lucky that I was up in the commentary box and I was getting to talk about my favorite sport and get all excited about it. And I suddenly realized it's kind of a legacy of what I do in my presentations. I'd like to have a two-way conversation. Now, it may be me speaking because I'm giving a presentation, but you still, hopefully you can see I'm doing it now, is that we're basically, we could be sat opposite each other in a pub. There's a thought with that sun. Pub garden, that's even better, isn't it? We'll go pub garden looking at this weather out there. But we could be just having a conversation with each other. I don't need to suddenly talk at you. And I think that's the difference, talking with rather than talking at. And it really, relaxes the whole thing. Now, the irony is that there's 2 distinct sides that I feel this impacts. Us, in terms of our level of nerves, our control, the way that we deliver, the way that we recall information, but equally in terms of your audience and how you receive it. Just sit there for a minute, or stand if you're standing. Don't tell me if you're laying down, but if you're there, think of a time when you've been watching a presentation, watching a training course, even if it's via webcam, and somebody is delivering information to you. Which ones do you remember most? And I'll venture a guess, because I've spoken to many people about this and looked into it. I'm sad like that. That's why I don't get invited to dinner parties very much, I think. I know. But it's the ones that you feel connected to, the ones that are delivering that information in you know, inflections and change of tone is important, and we'll cover that in a future live. And of course, we go into a lot of detail on that in our training courses. But it's where it feels like you are having a two-way conversation. It doesn't mean that I'm actually directly involved in saying things, but that two-way conversation could almost be kind of, yeah, good point. Yeah, I see what you mean. And I'm interacting within myself because it feels like I'm being invited, rather than information just being bang, 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 bang thrown at me in a news reporter kind of way. The best thing I can suggest is that if you're going to speak up in a meeting, deliver a presentation, a speech, or a training course, if you're able to get it recorded, either via video or at the very least audio. Audio is really, really useful, because if you're not seeing your visual clues, and we cover visual clues in more detail in a future episode as well, it's really good to be able to actually listen to it, and you can go, I was smiling then. I was looking directly at somebody and interacting with them at that point. And you can hear yourself doing that in your conversational tone. But let's go through it in a bit more detail. What things can it have an impact with? Thank you for the people that are liking. Hi, Jeff Gendel. Hi, Lisa Pink. You're over in Australia, Lisa, aren't you? I think. Welcome from all the way over there. Great to see you guys. Remember, put comments, put questions, anything at all. It would be lovely to hear from you. First one, and I've already been touching on these, but I want to go into a little bit more detail. Hi, Carl Alden. Hello, mate. Nerves. The impact on your nerves. Now, if you psychologically have said, right, I've got to now stand up and I've got to give a presentation. This was the big issue I had. When I was at university, I could be out in a pub holding court with the lads. No problem. I'd probably be the loudest, the one cracking the most jokes, and they were jokes, honest. Hello, Chris Parr, Papa Parr. Good to see you. See, look, we can put people's comments up there, so do keep them coming in. Any questions as we're going along as well, or your thoughts and your experiences, put them in there. But so I would do that in a social environment, in the pub, whatever, cracking the jokes, having the chats, loud, brash, whatever, probably a pain in the neck, frankly. But as soon as I did a business and IT degree, and we were regularly having to do presentations. And as soon as I had to give this structured presentation, I would stand up and I would just melt, just not the same person I was when I was out. And it was ridiculous. How can I go from this person with this level of confidence to suddenly freeze? And it was because, right, I've now got to give a structured presentation, and I've got to go through, I've got to remember everything I'm going to say. I'm going to deliver it all. I've got an order that I'm going to stick to. Forget it. Throw that away. I'm going to go in a lot more detail in the future, and we certainly in our training talk about things like scripts and content, and how the order doesn't matter. You're the only one that knows. So you could literally have a bullet list of points and go, I want to cover this, 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 and this. Guess what? You know this, 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 and this. It's what you do as a job. It's what you do in your life. So stick with it. But it doesn't, as a guide to go, oh, I haven't talked about that yet. Now have a conversation about those points. Your nerves, I guarantee you, if you could find it in yourself to just not actually be a presenter and just have a conversation with your audience, you will relax into it. It doesn't mean it gets rid of the nerves at the beginning. And when we cover nerves, we talk about how, yep, you've got it at the start and you get over that hump and then you go. And if you relax into a conversation, it will get rid of the controlling nerves. I think that's the right way to say it. I never like to say it gets rid of the nerves. It gets rid of the controlling or the debilitating nerves. And you are now into a free flow conversation about what you're there to talk about, what you're there to pass on to people. And so it will make a massive, massive difference for yourself. Think about it. You could bump into someone that you've never met before. And it might be awkward at the start of that conversation, but as soon as it gets going, think about how you relax into it. And you're suddenly going, oh, yeah, I've just been there. I've done this. I know that. This is what I do. It flows. But if you just suddenly go, right, I've now got to do this, you will clam up. So change the way you are thinking. Thank you very much, Chris. Very interesting. I agree wholeheartedly with your rationale. Thank you very much. And by the way, if you don't agree, I'll always be interested to hear those as well. I will share those. And greetings, Andy Sweeting. Thanks for your like there as well, mate. So the nerves, it's going to make a big difference. What about connection? The connection that you're going to have with your audience. And I've already touched on this really, so I'm not going to harp on because, again, this is an example. I've done it slightly out of order. I earlier touched on, can you remember a time when you have had somebody stand up and speak in a meeting and they've done it conversational rather than dictatorial or nervously? You know, let's go from one extreme or the other. They either go, right, this is the facts, or maybe this is the case. I think we've seen this. Well, from what we were looking at, the information we pulled together is X, Y, and Z. You know, to suddenly have somebody have a conversation which could equally get somebody to start getting involved, it will make a difference to the connection with people. If you are delivering a training session and you're doing it more conversational, you will get people bouncing backwards and forwards, and it's much more interactive, and you will form that connection. Equally, by the way, that connection has a very high chance of staying even after you've gone, that they will remember. They'll have warmed to you in some way or another. Not everybody likes everybody. That's kind of a given. But if they've had somebody that they feel that they've been, you know, getting a connection, this person was having a chat with me about their information and they were sharing it with us quite nicely. Well, they're the people that you're going to connect with. Whereas if somebody's just been there and they've just been throwing all this information, you'll be there probably scribbling some notes down, trying to learn desperately from it. But it doesn't mean that you will have connected with them, that you will remember it, that you will recommend that person to somebody else, that the bosses might remember your interaction, and therefore you stand the scope of you know, promotion or sideways steps, headhunted. Who knows what it could happen? It will always create much more connection if you are having a conversation with those people. Chris Mason, good to see you, my friend. Used to be terrified of public speaking. Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that you've flicked over. When we do nerves, we talk about how the nerves never go away. You've used the adrenaline to your advantage. So well done, mate. That's brilliant to see. And thank you for your comment, and thank you for watching. YouTube you're on. So here you go. Look, it shows you whether the person is on YouTube or Facebook when they're commenting. So welcome. Great to see you guys there. The flow, now I've kind of crossed over this really in the fact that the flow is going to be better when you're having a conversation. Now, when I say flow, people may have the misconception that the flow is, I need to go this, 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 and this. It is always good to have a degree of structure. Obviously, the basics is that you open up, you introduce content, and then you close. We've also got in our training, we go into more detail of structure where we've got what I passionately believe in of a tell, show, tell, and breaking your if it's a structured presentation, breaking it down where you tell them what you're about to show them, you show them it so that they now understand what they're looking at, and then you tell them what you've just shown them so that you put it back into context and you break that down. That doesn't need to be a rigid scripted thing, is that you just know everything I'm about to talk about, everything I'm about to present, everything I'm about to demonstrate or show. It is definitely very, very good to turn around and go, okay, this is what I'm about to talk about now. This is why it's important. This is what you need to look out for. I'm obviously telling you the subtext of what you talk about there. You then do that. And you then give them the conclusion that, so this was important. Imagine if you don't have to do X, Y, and Z anymore. That was why this was so powerful. Right, next part. But that still doesn't need to be scripted, and you'd still make it conversational. My biggest claim to fame is that for the 20 years of presenting IT solutions, I got accused of making IT entertaining. Yes, I'm really pleased with that one. And it was because I would, be enthused about it, but I'd be having a conversation about our document management solution. And I still go and do it now. I contract to a company called First Office that I've known for many, many years. And I still get enthused and present the IT. and make it enjoyable, interactive, and make their minds think. You know, I haven't even got that as a point, but it does. If you're having that conversation rather than, right, pay attention to each point I'm making, you're allowing your audience to paint their own mental pictures, to sort of like, you know, express their minds and think out, and you're going to get even more impact from what you're trying to share with them. So in terms of flow, once you're doing this conversation and you relax, that goes, right, I've got my crutch and I've got it here. I've got pieces of paper down here. Even now, I've got my crutch that says, right, don't forget, make sure you talk about this, 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 and this. Okay, no problem. I then suddenly flow and it becomes a more natural something. Somebody could say something, somebody could look, somebody might even just, you know, nudge, go, yeah, we got that. Well, for me to be able to say, oh, and I can see that resonates with you. And it becomes real. My mind, I'm terrible. People who've heard me commentate will know this in particular, is that I suddenly go, oh, squirrel. I will just suddenly lose my, something else. And that will come into it as well. Well, I don't have a problem with that. I enjoy that. And when you're flowing, it allows you to do that. My crutch is there to drag me back again. So I never need to be nervous that I'm going to lose my flow. It's there. I can jump back on track. And it's my track, not anybody else's track, because nobody knows what I'm about to say anyway. That therefore gives rise to my next point, is that it does actually give you more control over it. It sounds ridiculous. People sort of go, no, but I need to just present. I need to have a script. I need to have a rigid structure to have control. I don't agree. The minute you're giving yourself that level, you're putting yourself on edge. I have to go A to B to C to D to E, and I have to remember it all, and I've got to memorize all this script. No. Have a conversation. You may well have a preferred route through this, but relax. If you're having a conversation, it doesn't matter. You know, it is okay that, you know, think about when you were in the pub with your friends or your family, or you're sat around the dining room table at home with family that we're able to do a bit more these days, aren't we? Then it's, you know, you are able to go off on a tangent because of your mind thinking of something else, or somebody else's comments or interaction or whatever it might be. And so you allow yourself that flow, then drag yourself back on again. So actually, you've got a lot more control, and you'll be a lot more expressive. Naturally, you'll be a lot more expressive. I'm just looking at the comments coming in. Chris Mason says, oh, shiny things. I tend to wander off track a little too, to the point I'm not allowed to teach the marshals first aid. I take too long. Mason, I know you would do that. He's a paramedic these days, as well as working at a circuit on the medical side. Great to hear from you, Chris. It does. And I mean, there lies where I go deeper in the mentoring, by the way, is that I can have people that do this, but then suddenly go too far. You know, why use one word when you can use 100? And some people say I do that as well, and probably am today. Apologies. And there's a fine line. You know, you need to make sure that you're still getting those points across. You're being engaging. And frankly, if you're flowing in a conversation and you're using these and these, remember, there's 2 eyes, 2 ears, and only 1 mouth. Use them in that order. Is that you will suddenly look, oh, I'm starting to lose the audience. I've gone off on a weird tangent that they're not relating to. Then you drag it back again. But again, if I'm just going, I've got to go through this, got to get everything out, got to get everything done. There's no flow. There's no control. There's no interaction. It's one way. Tog Tanner, thank you, mate. Always a pleasure hearing you on the mic, but I love your videos too. They also help on a personal level as well as business point of view. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tog Tanner. That really means a lot. And I've had quite a few people that have said, ironically, this probably came both helping sports people interacting with media and sponsors and fans, and professional people presenting and training and participating in meetings more. But people have said it's actually helped them on a personal level as well. And I can relate to that. I mean, people find it staggering to think that I actually suffer from generalized anxiety disorder. It doesn't go away, but I've learned how to control it, how to manage it, and things like that. So it can, sorry, I've just seen another comment, and Chris, I'm going to come to that because that's a great point. A No, I've lost my train of thought. So do you know what? I'm going to carry on. I'm going to bring this one because this is absolutely perfect. Chris Parr says, mind you, I've been out with reps, and I'm assuming you mean sales reps there, that worked for me who talked themselves out of business. 100%. You've got to know when to stop, when to be quiet. But don't forget, that's exactly the same in a conversation. The worst people in the conversation are the ones that, again, they're talking at you. So that's still not a conversation. A conversation is very much a two-way thing. Even if it's not them verbally getting involved, you're paying attention to their eyes and their ears. And it's like, shut, done. It's the same as in terms of our presentation techniques, is that I also talk about how pauses, they're just as important as the sound. And it's often amazed me in training where people have gone, well, I'm always worried about pausing or stopping because people will think it's over and they might jump in. Well, first, if they jump in, there's probably a reason for it. But secondly, no, you are the one that is presenting at the moment. To pause allows them to digest. It allows you to regain everything, and it enables you to then flow with your conversation afterwards. And mic drop moment, you know, it can be that really powerful, just make the point and emphasize it and just really let it hammer home. So you're absolutely right, Chris. It is about, you know, making sure that you know when to shut up as well. But as I say, I still think that's relevant to a conversation. You're more likely to know when to shut up if you're thinking of it as a conversation. Whereas if you're thinking presentation, I've got to go, I've got to keep going, go, 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 all the way through it, that's when you're less likely to stop because you're there going, I've got to get to the end. And Chris, taking your comment about, you know, reps not knowing when to shut up as well. And with my sales and marketing background, I'm with you. And I had to learn in my early days is that you keep going because in your head, you're going, no, but I've still got this bit to present to them. Sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes you can go, do you know what? I've achieved what my goal was, whether that was selling your product or service, whether it was, you know, convincing the powers that be that we need to do X, Y, and Z, whether it was letting the knowledge sink into these people, that you suddenly go, do you know what? I don't need that. This conversation has achieved what we wanted it to achieve. It has reached the goal. It's hit the nail on the head. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to stop. But when you are presenting, you are in your head going, I've got A, B, C, D, E, F, I've got to cover all of that. And I'm flowing from one to the next. Throw it out. Honest to God, my advice is just throw that out and be a little bit more flowing. When someone turns to you and says, right, boardroom, 5 minutes, I need you in there to present about that. No problem. Piece of paper. I need to cover this, 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 and this. Right. Let's see how it goes. I'm going to have a conversation about these points. That's what they need to understand. That's what they need to learn about. That's what they need to be aware of, whatever it is, to go with it. I like the title for that. Yeah, over-formalizing. I like that, Chris. Over-formalizing. That makes sense. That is a good title for it. It really is. Speed. Now, I'm going to do enough. In fact, the next week's Open Doors Live is going to be about speed. Speed is of the essence. And I would say in terms of the verbal delivery, speed is the one that will make the biggest difference to you and to your delivery. Because you need to be in control of what you're going to say. You need to have your brain ahead of your mouth at all times. You need to be in control of your breathing. And you need to allow your audience, whether it's physical or on a camera, to have that time to digest what you're conversing with them. Now, if you are having a conversation, you've got a better chance of being in control of your speed. It means that it's not always staying slow. There are times that you're going to suddenly speed up in your conversation. Think about in the pub, in the garden, watching the football on Sunday as I was. You're suddenly getting excited. Your speed goes up. Well, that dramatically emphasizes what you're saying. But the conversation is also going to enable you to slow it down and be in control. Whereas if I'm just quickly going towards getting everything out and I've got to let everybody know this, there's a chance that you're going to have yourself speaking too quick, especially if the nerves are in control. And remember, we've got this, you know, ever diminishing circle of nerves where, you know, we're suddenly taking these little layers off that are reducing it anyway. And by having a conversation, I've got less nerves. And because of now having a conversation, I'm more in control, which means I feel less nervous about being out of control. And you see how it all happens. Well, naturally, you're going to be able to control your speed a lot more anyway. So a conversation will flow much more naturally, and you'll be able to play around with the speed. Your interaction with your audience is always going to be there. The tone. If you just present, I mean, this is a huge one for me. And again, tone is a subject on its own that I've started playing around with and, you know, trying to do a video on that to sort of really discuss it. And I don't mean changing your accent or anything like that. I mean, the impact you're going to have on your audience, you know, the way that they're going to receive that information, the attitude that you are giving off. That will be down to your tone. You know, are you angry about it? Are you excited about it? Are you quite nervous about what you're saying? Playing around with your tone, and even down to its basics of that you need to be able to raise up and down in your voice, change the inflections, change your tone. Well, the minute people become a presenter, we almost sort of like think that stereotypical old-fashioned news presenter where suddenly I'm getting everything out and I become a lot more monotone. The amount of people that you watch and think, that's not the person I know. They have literally become a presenter. What I love in our training is that we do the video at the beginning, you shoot yourself, record it, you know, you record yourself, you don't shoot yourself, you record yourself, sorry. Just to clear that one up for legal reasons, is you record yourself giving a presentation, whether it's about yourself, whether it's about your product, your services, your company, whatever it might be. And we lock it away. We don't look at it. We lock it away. We then go through all the training and then we do it again at the end. And you watch it back and they sit there and suddenly go, wow. And the biggest thing is that they have become a stereotypical presenter in that one. And just suddenly they've given all of this because I've got to remember this and I've got to think about that. Whereas the minute you relax into a conversation and you get that information across, the difference that they see between the two. And of course, it gives them that confidence. If you remember last week's, if you haven't seen last week's, go back to see episode 2 that was about accepting that you go on this journey from consciously competent to subconsciously competent. So you don't, you know what you're doing, but you've got to remind yourself, you've got to think about it. You know, when we're learning to drive and we're still thinking mirror signal maneuvers and we've done enough now to be able to pass our test, but we then need to drive for a period of time before we become subconsciously competent, where it happens naturally. Well, it's the same with this, is that you might suddenly kind of go, oh, I've just flipped into presenter mode again. Deep breath and start interacting back with your audience and just get back into it being a conversation all over again. And you will relax a lot more, your audience interact a lot more, and what you're sharing will flow and be received in the right way. You know, I think that that's a big one, is that we do a big thing about try not to dogmatically and dictatorially go, this is the facts, this is it, this is the way it is. But actually present that, you know, almost like a buffet for them to take as much or as little as they want. You know, it will make a difference. We talked about recall as well. Sorry, I have. Let me put this into context. You might go, have you? Yes, I have. But let me explain what I mean by that. Is that your audience will recall more. Now you remember, don't you? Is that I said that which presentations or training do you remember most? And it's the ones where you felt a connection with the person doing it. And so the recall for your audience, now, that could be training, it could be a presentation, it could be, you know, just that you are in a meeting and you've got all the department heads there and everybody's got to say their pieces. You're going to recall what those people said better if you felt that natural connection, it was a conversation. But equally for you, because you've definitely heard it happen for me here, is that as I converse, I've got these bullet points and I kind of go, right, I want to now touch on this element. And I will bring it up as is, but I then flow into a conversation about it and I expand on it and I add it the little fluff. I've got a big phrase, is that sizzle and steak. The steak is your knowledge, your product, your service, your financial figures, your objectives, whatever it might be that you're about to share with someone. That is the steak. But if you just went steak, it's not quite so good. But if you add the sizzle, think of the steak platter when it comes out and it's sizzling. Oh, I can hear that in my mind now, and my gosh, I'm suddenly hungry. It makes a difference. That sizzle is then the fluff that we add to it, that gives it context, that gives it principle, that gives it the wow factor. But if I just presented the sizzle on its own without the steak, that wouldn't work either. So we are enabling ourselves to flow a bit more, add more sizzle to it. So we remember the steak, because that's what I do day in, day out. I've got the reminder, but because it's a conversation, I can now naturally add more sizzle as we go, more real life experiences, etc., etc. So it make a big difference. This might seem ironic with how I've kind of gone squirrel a few times, but it does help you focus. It honestly, trust me, it does. Even with my style here, is that it's enabled me to sort of just suddenly go, oh yeah, I just want to touch on the focus element. It's there, but I've been able to flow about each of the areas I want to talk about, but still in a conversational mode. And I've allowed myself to focus on each point in turn and have a chat with you about it. I hope that makes sense, and I haven't got excessively waffly with you there, but it really it made the biggest difference for me when I went from paralyzed by fear to being able to present to at university, then into sales and marketing for IT and things like that, and then into commentating. And when I host awards, I try to make it interactive for anybody who's been party to me hosting not just awards nights, but lifestyle events, business events, things like that. Is that you add some personality to it. You don't just go, right, I now need to go through this, and the winner was, and this was that. Make it conversational, and it will just flow. So it really worked for me, made the biggest difference to then lead on to all these other bits. I've talked about speed and emotion and all of those kind of things. It feeds in to enable those to work as well. So make sure you put some practice in. Try to get yourself having a conversation. Think about what you're like when you're with friends and family and colleagues, and it flows. And do exactly the same, even if you're stood on a stage with a lectern. Try and do exactly the same. In the physical communication, we talk about making eye contact, and we talk about smiling and things like that. Well, that will help lead you into a conversation, actually having a conversation with your people. I'm going to cover at some point about doing it via webcam, because of course we're having to do that a lot more these days, and I think that will stay to some extent. And in that one, I sort of cover this. Imagine that you are all there in that camera. I'm just going to suddenly bring this one. Your audience are there and you're able to interact with them, but you might have to create it. When I do stuff for TV, and we got the big camera there, is that I remember the first time I kept looking to the cameraman, looking for confirmation you're doing okay, and that looks terrible. And so I learned that you just look into this big black hole and you imagine your audience are in there, and you are having that conversation. If you think about it, when I'm up in a commentary box, I can see thousands of people all around me, around the circuit, but I can't really see them close enough to know whether they've smiled, nodded, laughed, understood, or whatever. So you have to kind of in your head just kind of go, they did. I'll laugh at my own jokes and hope that they have actually done it as well. So it's really important. I'm just going to put this up. Andy Sweeten, hello, mate. Doing award ceremonies, I have what I want to say in my head, but when it comes to the crunch, 9 times out of 10, I tend to lose it and rush the delivery. Actually, Andy, what about flipping that on its head? Do you lose what you're going to say because you've rushed the delivery? think about it. It doesn't matter exactly what you're going to say. And I know what you're talking about there, when you've suddenly got to, present the trophies and things like that people have done particularly well, and they've won this particular award from your organization and what have you. And if you kind of go, right, well, I know who it is, I know what they did to deserve this, why we've picked them out. So that's it. That's all I need. I'm now going to just breathe, relax, like I say, have a conversation about it and not worry about it. Who's to say that you've lost what you were going to say, because nobody else knows what you were about to say. As long as you get the key information out that it was this person and this is what they did to warrant it, the rest of it, slow down and just get excited about it, get humorous about it. That includes, by the way, if you are a nervous person, that's part of your personality. And that can come out in the way you say it. And you don't need to make it, hide the elephant in the room. It is what it is, but slow down. So you might find it's the other way around. You don't lose it and then rush the delivery. You're rushing the delivery possibly makes you lose it a lot more, as in lose what you're going to say. I'm assuming you mean there, but I'm 100% with you. Exactly where I was. And that's why I'm speaking in this way, is that I was there and I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes you do have that. Just take a breath and go a little bit more, add a little bit more, add a little bit more, and you're going to be able to achieve it for you. So I hope that was useful for everybody. Try to turn it into a conversation, relax. Andy says, yeah, I think I tried to over deliver, maybe, possibly. Or you're over structuring, you're trying to over deliver something structured. Minimize how much of that is structured and then just entertain or add personality for the rest of it. There is no wrong. The only bit that would be wrong is the who won it and why. Well, as long as I know who's got it, I know why they've got it, how I'm going to deliver that, let's see. And the beauty would be, actually, if you were told to go and do it there and then a mile down the road and a mile down the road to different people, but exactly the same awards, what I would love to hear is that you actually did it completely different for all three. No, sorry, let me change that. Not completely different, just different. So that actually there was you suddenly added a different sizzle here and a different sizzle there. That's because we're having a conversation and it's flowing and you suddenly go, oh, that's quite funny. That makes sense. That is good. And you do it and someone else reacts in a different way and you suddenly go, oh, that would make that relevant here. If you've slowed down, you've allowed yourself to converse and be a lot more fluid, a lot more natural. And that's what you're trying to go for. And remember something, you're not trying to be a blueprint presenter or a blueprint awards host or a blueprint CEO in a meeting or whatever it is. You're being you. But the problem is, as soon as we got to be presenter, we're not getting you. We're not actually getting to enjoy and experience your personality. The minute you calm that down and you can be you, that's where we're really gaining. And no one can be you better than you. Think about that for a minute. No one can be you better than you. I can be Chris Dawes, and that's all I will ever ask of myself. If people end up not particularly liking the Chris Dawes, I can't change that. I'm not in control of that, and I shouldn't lose sleep over it. But I'm being the best version of me. My personality, my knowledge is being shared and all of that sort of stuff, but I'm being the best version of me. And that's all you can ask of yourself. Chris Mason says, just starting my award in training and education award now. So these lives are really helpful. Oh, Chris, I'm so pleased. I really am pleased. And don't forget is that if you're watching on Facebook, then please make sure you go to Open Doors Training. You can see how that is spelled. There is an Open Doors Training Facebook page. Go to that, like it, turn on the notifications, share these lives as well. Please share these lives with anybody if you think it's been useful. If you're on YouTube or if you want to do both, go to Open Doors Training. And again, the post for this live, it will have the links in there as well. But search for Open Doors Training in YouTube. Subscribe and then click the bell icon and turn on your notifications, and it will tell you when there's more videos, because as well as doing the lives every Tuesday at 11, I'm also, by order of my marketing team, I've actually got to work on a sequence of videos as well, sort of short, sharp videos, not like this one, you'll be pleased to know. And they'll be going up there as well. Equally, if you go to, let me just put this up here. Oh, no, let me put it there. If you go to opendoorestraining.co.uk/connect, you will also see that there are some free resources available. So how to start and managing your nerves, totally free. 2 PDFs that are free for you to download and use and everything like that. There is the option to then take those further in either a 15-part or 8-part video or audio lesson, or you've got the whole shebang, the whole online training that's available as well for you to undertake at your own time. But we still get interaction, and you'll be invited to the Academy group on Facebook that will have like weekly chats, proper video calls with other members and things like that. Chaired by me, but it means that we get to look at other people's experiences and answer each other's questions and things like that. It's a very interactive group, so make sure you have a look. So Open Doors Training. In fact, let me change that so that that's the one going along the bottom. And for anybody who wants it, let me just put it. I'm going to share it with you all. Yeah, now you can tell it's live, because this is going to appear as a comment to you all. You notice as well now that this is a key thing where I'm having a conversation rather than a structured presentation. I've suddenly gone, oh, do you know what? Because of that comment, this is going to be useful for you all. So I'm going to put this up there. So opendoorestraining.co.uk/connect. It will show you all of the way. You can go from there back to the main website, of course, but it shows you all the different freebies that you can get. Some reason it's not on the Open Doors Training, and hopefully you've got it on some of them there. Tog Tanner, sorry. Keeping control of my nerves and being relaxed is my big booby in the room when talking in groups, but it's getting there. 100%. Now, Tog Tanner, definitely go to the opendoorestraining.co.uk/connect. There is a free download that touches on nerves, covers our top 5 out of the 15 that we cover in a PDF for you to have a look at, and try to sort of gain control. The nerves will never go away. I get nervous whether even before this, I was stood here for 10 minutes before we went live, and I was controlling my breathing and everything. The nerves don't go away. It's not about the absence of the nerves. It's about changing the perspective of some of them. It's about learning how to manage some of them so that they diminish. And then it's about using the adrenaline caused by the remaining nerves. I have said the day I don't get nervous anymore is the day I will stop doing it, because it means I don't care, or I've got arrogant and complacent. And that comes across in the presentation or the commentating or the hosting or whatever it might be. And I think that's terrible once that happens. And so I've said, if I don't get nervous anymore, that's it, not doing it anymore. So don't panic about the fact that you get nervous, Tog Tanner. And we will cover this in more detail in the future. I can't remember which episode that's going to be. And so stay subscribed and you'll see it. This is something very close to my heart. It's why this was created, because I managed to find a way to be in control, use the adrenaline, but definitely this will make a big difference. If you try to have a conversation with your audience rather than present, the switch in your mind will make a difference. The same as speed, which is next week's show. It will make such a big difference for you. There's no question about it. Right. I hope that was useful, as I say earlier. So I keep coming to that, don't I? Please go and have a look. opendoorestraining.co.uk. Either just to that, or put the /connect, and it just takes you to a page that's just got all the different ways that you can connect with us at Open Doors. If you're on YouTube, or if you can be on YouTube, go there and click subscribe and turn on the notifications. Once you click subscribe, a little bell will appear to the side. Click that and turn on notifications, and it will tell you when either lives or new videos are released. They're designed there to help you, to try and guide you. Also good to, if you go to opendoorestraining.co.uk and then go to the blog page, which deliberately has tips coming up, subscribe up there, and all that does is once a month, I think it's on the 2nd of every month, you'll get an email, an email that says this is the articles from last month. And it just means you've got those to keep aware of. So jump on there. If you're on Facebook, make sure you click follow on the Open Doors training. That's the key one. I know some of you will be through my personal page and through my media page as well. But if you do it through my company, Open Doors Training, go and follow that. And I think you're able to turn on notifications from memory when new posts and things like that are up there. And equally, please do share the videos. If you think it's going to be useful for anyone, let them see it. I'm here to try to help people. I've experienced the difference it's made to my life. It's called Open Doors Training because it opened doors for me that I never dreamed possible. I cannot believe how lucky I am, the things I get to do. The doors that you open will be totally different for each and every one of you. But if you don't allow your voice to be heard, allow your knowledge to be shared, to let people know what you are good at and what you know and what you're passionate about, that's the only thing you can guarantee then is that you won't be able to go any further with it. An expert silent in a room isn't really an expert. They're not sharing it. We don't know how good they are, and it's unfair on them and everybody else. So it is about opening those doors. Don't second guess what they are. Just go for it. Say yes more often to talking up in a meeting or presenting or providing training. Put your hand up to volunteer to do it, and then make sure that you're doing it well, and stay tuned for all of these that will just help you sort of do those. Rest assured, as I said earlier, this is us. My whole principle here is that I am not about trying to create a blueprint. This is how it's got to work. We're not all the same. We all have different traits and skills and pluses. I'm all about unlocking that. Instead of being the reserved version of you so we don't actually get your personality, I want all of your personality in a conversation, sharing your knowledge, your experiences, your passions, your beliefs, all of those things. It empowers others and it opens up doors for you as well. I hope that was useful for you, and I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. From myself, Chris Dawes, have a very good week. I'll see you next week.